by to a glorious episode of The Signal Caller with myself and Saul Lopez. We took you through all the quarterbacks. The Raiders need a quarterback. So for some people, the Raiders don't need a quarterback, but for most people, people who make the 30% of us who actually have common sense, the Raiders do need a quarterback. So, so we'll rank those guys right now. I'm only going to do 1 through 6. I'm not going through the guys in the next round. I don't want to think about anybody else after the first round.
Sure.
Maybe one drops out of the first round. As far as the top 6 goes, but I don't know about you, but I really do like the class. I think there's some players here. All depends on what situations they go to, all the things like that. So we'll see exactly what happens here in the draft in a couple of days. For our QB rankings, I'm going to go 1 through 6. And my 6th quarterback, and we'll do it in reverse order, is JJ McCarthy. The reason why JJ McCarthy is I'm looking at him as if his top level, right? Everybody's saying his top level is Alex Smith like. Not that Alex Smith wasn't a really good player, but eventually Alex Smith had to get replaced. They had to go to a higher level of play. And the inexperience. I know he was good on third down. I know he's a quote unquote winner. All those things like that. But to me, I'm not going to be. And I know he has the ability to grow a lot because he's so young. Like he's 20, 21 years old. There's still kind of a mystery to see what he can become. But he also could be a guy who turns out to be, as Zach Wilson just got traded to the Broncos. That could be him too. So
yeah.
So I'm gonna say he's the 6th guy. But as far as JJ McCarthy goes, I mean, if the level's gonna be that high, and it's gonna be Alex Smith like, then I would take him on the Raiders. But if I have an opportunity to pass and get somebody else, if it's in between him and somebody else, I want somebody who could probably play right now. Bo Nix. Everybody knows that I'm more of a fan of Bo Nix than most people. So Bo Nix is 5th. There is no 4th on my list. There is just a tie between Drake May and Michael Penix. I think the arm talent of the biggest factor in this whole thing is the arm talent of Michael Penix. I feel like Michael Penix, you can be stuck in a game where you're not doing anything offensively, you're struggling, and then he makes 2 throws in the 4th quarter, and then all of a sudden you're back in the game. I'm back in the game. So, and Drake May, I think, is more of. I think people are viewing him more as a project. They don't love that offense he was in North Carolina, but obviously he fell to the Raiders. If he fell in the draft, his physical tools. You could be looking at somebody who is. I'm not saying he's going to be Josh Allen, but I'm just saying like he has that build, the mobility, the arm strength, all the things you want as far as that goes. I think the next guy is going to be the next Commander quarterback. That's going to be Jaden Daniels. I don't see no miracles happening on Thursday. They need a quarterback. They know they need a quarterback. They traded away their quarterback to Seattle. The guy actually fits. I'm surprised Raider fans are even doing this to themselves because he actually fits the offense of the coordinator who is already there.
Yeah.
So it just makes all sense in the world. And then Caleb Williams with a bevy of weapons, and Ryan Poles could be in a situation where he gets Executive of the Year if the Bears make the playoffs.
No doubt. Yeah. Okay. So ours is going to differ a little bit. I had Nix as my 6th quarterback. I just didn't like what I saw from the combine, and going further into it, I don't think that that's going to be a guy that should go in the first round. I don't think he's a first-round quarterback, even though I think that as many as 5 and as many as all 6 of these guys will go in the first round. I think Nix is more of a project, and I think that he's definitely going to be there for the Raiders at 13 if they want to pull the trigger on that. My 5th guy is JJ McCarthy. I've said it before. I just don't think that giving the guy the keys to a franchise who wasn't really handed the keys to his last program, even though they were a winning program, I just don't think that translation works very well. And I think even though he's super young and you can adapt to the game of the NFL and he certainly has physical skills, I'm just not sure that he showed enough for me to be to put him over some of these other guys that I think can do that right away. Here's where we're going to differ a little bit, and I imagine a lot of people are going to come after me for this, but I have Jaden Daniels as the fourth best quarterback in this. And although we went over it and I do like his decision making, I think that his running ability will not translate well into the next level if he continues to take the hits that he does. I think he's a very explosive runner. And he's obviously has speed, athleticism, and takeoff. But I think he over relies on it. And when he tries to make those extra yards and those extra like fight for those extra couple yards and whatnot, he gets blown up far too often. And I know he weighed in at his combine or at his pro day, but those things can be manipulated. It doesn't really feel like he's at 210 pounds and he gained that much weight over that time or over that course of time. To the fact that he had his own people basically, for him to weigh in at the pro day, it gives me a little bit of a cause concern that he's not that big. In that regard, and we'll know next year for sure when he's playing against people at other situations. It reminds me a little bit of the Bryce Young situation. There's no way he was as what he was listed his weight wise. It just didn't feel like that in that situation. He looked very small in his NFL rookie year. And Penix is going to be my third guy. I am all in on Michael Penix. I think his personality, his arm talent, his athleticism, he ran an exceptionally fast 40 for what people thought he was going to run way later because of all the injuries. He actually ran faster than what was previously reported that he ran at his own Washington career. So they timed him, and that was just a number that was floating around that he ran like a 4.65 or something like that. He ended up running faster than that. So we were really happy with that when he came out with the 40, but everything about the guy just screams Raiders. It screams Antonio Pierce. It screams that situation. It just feels like that guy's the right personality. The chip on the shoulder, the everybody's looking down on him for the injuries, the age, the stuff of that nature, like not running the 40. He's the perfect size. He has the great arm, and I think he's a top 3 quarterback coming out. Drake May is my number 2. I think the upside is just palpable with the guy. His creativity, his arm strength, his size, his mobility. I really like his decision making in the pocket. He really didn't have a whole lot to go off of at North Carolina for either of the 2 years. I mean, he had one like pro receiver, I think, in Josh Downs. But he didn't really have a whole lot to go off. But he really performed and was efficient in his production. And of course, the top of the mountain is Caleb Williams. And it's just kind of not much really to say about that. He's the guy. It's been him for 2 years. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick. He's headed to Chicago, rightfully so. Nobody else even really put up a fight. He's been the guy that was going to go number 1 at any moment in his career when he decided to turn pro.
All right, so we got our list out here. It's a little bit different. I do think it's great that I do think it's interesting that with all the talk, you ended up right back at where everybody thought May and Williams were. So
Yeah.
so I can see that coming back full circle as well. So we're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna do our mock drafts. I think I'm gonna go first and we'll see what happens as far as this whole. I'll go 7 rounds. We'll see. And we're only doing Raiders. And you know what? I was gonna do what I thought Glasgow's gonna do, but screw that. I want the receipts. So we're gonna go out and do this and do this here. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Signal Caller. Dwayne Douglas here with Solo Lopez, the Solo Lopez, and then myself, I'm PORSBR is my Twitter handle, so you can definitely check us out there. If you see my eyes squinting back and forth, the Mets are playing the Giants at the same time, so I have that on the third screen out here watching them. We're doing a mock draft. So first pick of the draft, I have a lot of people available. I went with Michael Penix at 13. I'm not screwing around. I'm not playing around. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this at all. I'm not messing around with anybody. I'm not. I can. There's more tackle and offensive lineman prospects than there are quarterback quality quarterbacks. So I'm gonna roll with that. So as my first pick, my second pick, at number 44, I'm gonna draft Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma State. From Oklahoma. He actually fits the scheme. He's big. He can move. So we draft. So we draft him at 44. I'll let you go. I'm gonna go to 77. Then I'm gonna pause and let Solo do his. But let me get to 77 first. See here. Let me see. Let me try to see what they got on the interior offensive line. All these trades, I want to reject all of them. Okay, thank you. Let me see here. Let's see here. Offensive line. I'm gonna go with another tackle. I'm gonna go Roger Rosengarten. He actually was the blind side protector for Penix at the University of Washington. So I went 2 tackles. Give me some flexibility. See if I can kick any of these guys inside. You want a massive offensive line? I'm trying to give the Raiders a massive offensive line and see how that was done. Like, look at this. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen in the draft, but I walked away with Guyton and Rosen Garden and still got a quarterback.
Yeah,
It's possible to do both.
it is for sure possible.
Sure possible. So I paused it. I paused mine. Go ahead and give me your first 3 picks.
So in the 13th overall pick, I think Penix is going to be there. And if he's there, I'm taking him 100%. I think that's the next franchise quarterback for the Raiders. I think if he is there, that's what they need to do in terms of pulling the trigger. No more messing around. They haven't drafted a quarterback in the first round in 17 years. The last 2 quarterbacks they drafted in the first round over the course of the last 35 years have been massive, massive busts, arguably 2 of the biggest busts ever taken in the first round in Todd Marinovich when they took him 27th, I believe, and of course, Jamarcus Russell, number 1. So it's time. You got to pull the trigger. You got to make it happen. You got to do it. Who fell to me in the second round, I know that offensive line on specifically tackle is a big deal, but I think Cooper Beebe is a first-round talent. And I think if he fell to us at our pick, which he did in my mock draft, in this mock draft simulator, I'm taking him. I know that the Raiders needed specifically a tackle. They haven't really addressed the guard position a whole lot. I know that they're going to keep Andre James and keep Dylan Parham at their respective positions that they were last year, which I, of course, thought was a mistake to start. But I'm going to move Cooper Beebe, who I think is a day 1 starter and is going to be a really, really good guard in this league. And then fell to us also in the 3rd round is Braylon Trice, who I really, really like. And a lot of people said he had a pretty bad combine. I understand the size aspect that I think he plays way better on tape than he performed, if you say, at the combine. All the tape, all the playoff games that I saw for Washington, or the playoff games that I saw for Washington, he felt effective. He felt like the right pick there. It was a really hard choice between Junior Colson from Michigan, who I absolutely love. He's one of my favorite linebackers in this draft. But Braylon Trice is one of the first defensive players I fell in love with when I started my scouting. So I'm going to go with Braylon Trice, edge defender from Washington. And I'm going to solidify that front 7.
Oh, all right. So I'm going to go continue. We're going to go ahead and press play on mine. Let's see what we got coming up with 112. See what we got coming up. Not making any trades. Boom. Let's see. I'm going to reject all these ridiculous trades. All right. And then let's see here. So I am going to go with not a good time. Interior. I'm going to wait on interior. I'm going to go wide receiver. I'm going to go Javon Baker of, you know what? I'm going to go Brendan Rice.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Brendan Rice, not because of the USC thing, but he was one of the guys they brought in for a 30 visit. The guys who came in for 30 visits. I think that's the guy who he likes big. I would say he fits. He can be a deep threat. He's physical, and he's a guy who, if you look at the track record of the Chargers, Receiving core, very similar body style to what they've had in the past with Quentin Williams and Mike Williams and people like that. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go Brendan Rice in the 4th round.
Okay.
See here in the 148. Here, let's see what we got in this position group. Let me go. This position group. Tricky here. Let me go with Rolando Green, cornerback from Florida State. So we got a corner here. Now we got a long way to 208. Let's see here. This thing is spinning. And it's on fast mode too. It's taking a while to get to 208. All right.
No doubt.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
That's
go
like
with
3 rounds away.
I know, right? Let me go to I'm gonna go to Howard. I'm going to Hunter Norzad, I should say. Hunter Norzad from Penn State, interior offensive lineman. So I'm giving the offensive coordinator a lot of options here as far
Yeah.
as the offensive line goes. So he should
They're gonna find their starting rotation out of all the offensive linemen you're giving them.
Yes. And that is something that was key. Everybody was crying about that. So I know everybody wants that so bad. So we'll see. I'm gonna just finish it out here. 223. Let's roll with and I like a good scat back. So let me get Michael Wiley from Arizona. Catch the ball out of the backfield, 3rd down back. It's my last pick. I'm gonna go with a heavy defensive lineman. Go with Marcus Harris out of I'm not gonna go defensive tackle. Let me just save. So I'm gonna go. I won't go defensive tackle. Let me go. Let's see here. He's not available anymore. Oh, somebody grabbed him, huh? Damn.
Who are you looking at?
I was looking for Keelan Slovis. He's gone. Let me roll with
Joe Milton's still there?
don't remind me that he's still there. Let me get a little bit. Oh man. Let me get Vidal, the running back from no, I got
Imani Vidal. I like him.
I know, but let me not go with 2. You know what? I'll go with 2 running backs. Why not? Because I'm moving on from Britton Brown, people like that. So why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're gonna have to put a lot of faith into one that Zeus can be a primary starting running back, and 2 that
to me, just to that point, let me make sure I have enough bodies where somebody can replace Josh Jacobs or two folks can replace Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
So we got Penix, Guyton, Rosengarten, Rice from out of USC, Rolando Green, the corner, really heavy offensive drafts. But the strength of this team is defense. We're gonna ride that defense and we're gonna run the football. Vidal and Wiley round out the 7 draftees from this. And this is a live draft, so we just did a live draft. So I'll let you finish yours and we'll see where we're at.
I'm all set.
Good.
So just to recap, I went Penix with the 13th overall pick. And reminder, this is a no trades draft. We haven't accepted or proposed any trades. Penix with my first overall pick. I really liked Cooper Beebe. I thought I got good value at him as a guard. I know the tackle is really in need as well, but I felt like the talent evaluation, the upside of Beebe falling to us in the 2nd round was a good pick there. Braylon Trice fell to me in the third round. He's a guy that I really like. I think he plays heavy, plays hard, and I think the addition of him with Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby on that defensive line is going to be really nice. In the fourth round, I took Kalen King, the cornerback from Penn State. I always thought he played really well opposite Joey Porter. In the last couple of years, I thought he's a quality corner. I think he can develop into someone good. I know that the defensive back situation needs work in terms of who we're going to get to start opposite Jack Jones, if we're going to keep Nate Hobbs in nickel. And I know Patrick Graham really loves defensive backs. It's going to be one that I think he can work with. Matt Goncalves fell to me in the fifth round. That's who I was going to take in for that tackle spot. I would have ideally liked to have gotten tackle earlier, but the way the board fell, I just kind of was happy with getting a tackle who I think can develop into a solid right tackle. I'm not sure. I don't think he's a day one starter. I think he's a project, but I think he can be a swing tackle at the next level. For my first seventh rounder, I took Sion Vaki from Utah. Safety, converted running back, is a guy that Big Jim had been telling me about for a while.
I know him very well on the unfortunate side.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. I think he's got the utility that you need to be at the next level. I don't think he has the pure skills to be able to just stand on his own at the safety position. I think he can eventually develop there, but that's a guy that just screams special teamers to me. That you could just plug him in and he's going to be a gunner, or he's going to be a wing, or he's going to be somewhere you can put him on there, that he's going to be one of those effort guys that just wants to do anything he can do to help the team. And do anything he can to make that team to make the roster. My other seventh round pick is Keaton Slovis. So I took another quarterback. I don't think that Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew should rest on their laurels about having jobs in this situation. I think that you need to put in all kinds of competition in this. I think that's where the Raiders went wrong with housing Derek Carr for 9 years, that he was never given an op to be able to look over his shoulder, to play harder, to play better, to work harder, into getting better and to do the things on the field that he needed to do to be successful. And I think that's a detriment to his game. And so I think you always have to put extra quarterbacks in there, even if it's just a practice arm. You want to see what you can get out of a guy that looked pretty athletic and looked like he had a pretty good arm at the combine. Yeah. And then my last seventh round pick, I don't really think this guy's going to be there in the seventh round, but I took Gabriel Murphy from UCLA, the edge defender. When I saw his name pop up, I was kind of surprised. I thought he'd go higher, maybe in the fifth round as high, probably, or even the fourth round. I do like his size. I like his speed. And it's just another guy that you can take a shot on late in those drafts when, so many guys have been taken at that point. 228 guys have already been taken. So I'm going to put him on that front seven. I'm going to put him on that work ethic train, that Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby train, and we can see what we can get out of him. So I took Braylon Trice and Gabriel Murphy to add to that situation.
Cool. We got a mock draft from myself, mock draft from Solo. Also got our quarterback rankings as well. Is there anything else you want to kind of follow up with before we bounce out of here? I listen. There's also stuff we can always also go back and talk about, but at the end of the day, like this is the week the Raiders got to get it done. And we'll see where they actually go with this quarterback position, because they just desperately need one. So we'll see what happens.
So for my final thoughts on this whole process is that it's kind of I'm gonna echo a lot of what I have been saying. The idea that the Raiders can afford to keep kicking the can down the road and keep drafting long-term players and long-term stuff and all this nonsense that, we hear Telesco say it, we hear Dave Ziegler say it, we heard John Gruden and Mayock talk about foundational players, blah, 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 all this and that. It's all bullshit. None of it means anything unless you draft a quarterback. The only way you're going to consistently compete in the AFC is with a quarterback. And even then, when you get one, it'll be harder to compete. It's hard to compete with some of these teams. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are on a level above everyone else. They're the gold standard. Nobody even is even on their mountain to ascend, to climb that. And it all starts by getting a quarterback. You cannot convince me that Aiden O'Connell throwing 62 yards in a game versus the Chiefs is something that you can replicate on a weekly or yearly basis to be able to beat Kansas City. It's just not going to happen. You have to get a quarterback. You have to pull yourselves out of the Stone Age, and in terms of building your team the fundamental way that everybody else does. The Raiders have proven they're not smarter than everybody else in the NFL. The Raiders have proven that no matter who they hire GM, he's certainly not smarter than anybody else in building their team. It starts with quarterback, it ends with quarterback, and there's no in the middle, and there's nothing else that matters. If you drafted Jackie Slater as an offensive tackle to solidify that right spot, first ballot Hall of Famer, the greatest right tackle to ever live, you're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes with Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with those guys. Even if you draft Jackie Slater, if you draft Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack, you're not going to win the Super Bowl until you actually get a quarterback that can perform at the highest level consistently enough for you to win. This game revolves around offense and offense only. It revolves around quarterback. It is the single most impactful and important position in all of sports. And the Raiders can't afford to be the only team in the NFL that loses consistently, doesn't win playoff games, doesn't win division titles, and doesn't draft quarterbacks in the first round. They cannot be that organization. It has to be a situation where they draft a quarterback and then do everything else that's necessary. You can build your team when you draft a quarterback on the rookie deal. That's literally what you're supposed to do in today's NFL. That's how these teams are successful. If you have to pay the guy $180 to $200 million 5 years down the road, that's fine, because if he's worth it, you pay that guy. But it all starts with that one position. It's first round quarterback or bust. You kick the can down the road and you lose. That's the point.
And that is the perfect way to end this version of the Signal Caller. We'll continue that. We'll continue to go on with it, because we're going to track the progress of these quarterbacks, and we love quarterback play. So we're going to end up doing those things as well too. Solo, this was a good ride with you, and I know it's going to continue. So
yes, sir.
So we will continue that for the fans as well too. So all right, Raider Nation, it's here. It's draft week. So
draft week, baby. Let's go.
Let's all be friends or enemies this week. I don't know. Later.